No.
Oh, it's not, mate.
No.
It's only a proton.
Exactly. You go to America, drive a Lexus. What do I get? A Proton. Thanks.
If you do the test, I've got some fan mail for you. Honestly, it'll be all right. It's a nice car.
Yeah, right.
Come on, mate.
It's a Proton, Rob.
I promise you.
Proton. Proton. He goes to America. Lexus. Big expensive car. I just get a cheap car. The Proton Impian. Well, it could have been worse. In Malaysia, where it's made, it's called the Wadger. I mean, can you imagine it? Here, fancy a look at me Wadger. I'm just off to the garage, darling. Got to get me Wadger out. I mean, Wadger. The Impian actually replaces the Weira, and ta-da! For the first time, this car has been entirely made by Proton. Yep, they did it all themselves, designed and built everything, even used their own pencil. So bearing that in mind, they've actually been very sensible, very restrained. My response to being let off the leash like that would be to go completely nuts. Scoops, spoilers and probably tail fins would sprout like spots on a teenager's chin. And here's another important piece of this particular automotive jigsaw that I haven't yet shown you. Because underneath this, well, car body, a certain well-known sports car manufacturer of British origin has been allowed to go a twiddling and a tweaking. Lotus. This, though, is not the first time that Lotus have had a hand up a Proton's frock. The sparkly little Satria GTI boasts Lotus underpinnings, and that goes like a scalded ferret down a sprinter's shorts. It is quick. So what about the slightly more grown-up and serious Impian? Well, it's not bad. You can definitely feel that Lotus have been involved. It's a pretty firm ride. The steering is really, really nice, very direct. The brakes are well up to the job, there's plenty of grip. The seats are perhaps a little bit firm. And then there's the engine. And well, I've told a bit of a porky. Because the Proton Impian is entirely the work of Proton, apart from the engine, because that is still an old Mitsubishi unit, 1.6 litres, 102 brake horsepower, and a bit flabby around the edges, really. Next year, though, there'll be a Renault 1.8 litre version, and the year after that, there'll be a Lotus and Proton combined work engine. That should be a lot better. Wait for that one. This car is in fact so important to Proton that I nobly went all the way to Malaysia to talk to their head man about it. No, I did. Malaysia, me, beaches, everything. It was fantastic. Morning, Milo. Thanks for talking to us.
Hi.
Can you just first of all explain to us the relationship between Proton and your government? Because it's unlike anything we'd understand in the UK.
Well, basically, Proton is part of a plan to industrialize Malaysia. As you know, 20 years ago, we're basically an agricultural country. And if you look at from the point of view of commodities, prices were always dropping. And we had to balance our economy. And automotive was picked up as the industry that could not only provide jobs but start small and medium scale industries and yet at the same time acquire technologies. And from that point of view, Proton was set up to do those two things.
You are now what you would call, I suppose, a clean sheet manufacturer.
Yeah.
With the Impian, as you're marketing it in the UK, you can start afresh. That must feel very good as a company to reach that point.
Well, it certainly is very good to my engineers and the people who've been behind this project. But I think it is more important for Malaysia because it sorts of signals are coming to age from the plan that we had, which is the ability to acquire and manage technologies. So Impian is the finished product of that process. We're very happy that we've now got a position where we might be able to compete on almost an equal ground.
Oh, God, that was fantastic. Anyway, back to Earth. There is one small fly in the ointment for Proton, or a couple of nub ends in the beer can of their hopes, in fact, and that's that the Impian has a lot in common with a certain other sports car, the Aston Martin. Well, in the Aston Martin, what you get is a kind of hand-built feeling, quality. Everyone's different. In the Proton, well, you don't want everyone to be different, and they are. Quality, consistency. It ain't there. If you get a good one, great. If you get a bad one, hang on though, I'm nitpicking. This is a Proton. Bit like criticising a tramp for having dandruff, isn't it, really? I mean, it's got a wheel in each corner, it keeps the rain off, and it costs a bit more than a packet of breakfast cereal. What do you want for nothing? And so we must talk money. Proton aren't selling this on budget pricing alone. It starts from 12,000 rising to just over 13. The Impian is actually quite impressive for two reasons. Firstly, the fact that they didn't go berserk. Given free rein to do what they wanted, the Malaysians could have gone balmy, but they didn't. It's conservative, it looks positively German. And secondly, well, there's just the fact that it is an impressive car. It works well, it does all the things you want of a car. The handling's good, the ride's good, it looks good inside. Sure, the build quality isn't that of a Mercedes, but look at the price. Proton are the first to admit that they're not exactly a high-profile brand, but that's good. When Skoda tried to turn themselves around, they had to overcome a million jokes at their expense. Proton, well, their worst problem is not many people have heard of them. Great, it's a new market to educate, and if they keep knocking out cars like this, good luck to them.